Hi everyone, it's Pippa from the ADD-vantage, specialist support services for women and girls with ADHD. This is the second video on the topic of dating. The first one was supposed to highlight the possible pitfalls that the symptoms of the ADHD brain can create for women if they are dating. This video is supposed to be more sort of practical things that you could consider doing or trying to avoid those things I already mentioned, bringing you frustration, disappointment and sadness. I hope that you find them useful. So the first thing I spoke about in the other video was impulsiveness. So self-awareness is huge. We need to really understand who we are as women, how our symptoms affect us, how they manifest themselves. It is likely that you will be experiencing at least some impulsivity, okay? It's true that the older we get, the better we manage that. But it's likely still to be there. And if you're not sure how your impulsivity manifests, ask someone you trust, a trusted friend, family member, someone that knows you really well. And when you know how it manifests, consider what you could do to protect yourself from the potential vulnerability that it could bring. So impulsiveness could be blurting out thoughts, ideas, interrupting people, which can come across as rude and hurtful sometimes. If you know that you are prone to that, maybe it's an idea to let your date know in advance that you are prone to that. And if it happens, you acknowledge it, you apologise for it, and you move on from it. And you just explain that it's just a thing that you do, that you try hard not to, but sometimes it gets the better of you. I think that if your date can't accept that, why are you really wasting your time with this person? Obviously, there are also impulsive actions. I certainly recognise this in myself. We can be shocking people pleasers, and we can often reflect back what we think the other person wants or needs us to be. And we end up agreeing to things that do not reflect our values, do not meet our needs or our wants, and we are compromising massively, and we are hiding our true selves. So I don't think that's a very useful approach. And if I am vulnerable to impulsively agreeing to just about anything another person puts on the table, I need to work out how I can get a buffer in there to allow me time to pause, to think, to consider, do I actually want to do what is being proposed? So for example, maybe you're at a restaurant, they get a text, an invite to a party, they say, oh, do you want to go? And you really want to go, yeah, of course I do. But actually you probably do need to think about, well, where is it? Who's going to be there? How many people are going to be there? You know, how are we getting there? How are we getting back? What's happening at this party? What type of party it is? All these things you probably do need to reflect on and consider before agreeing to go. So in order to give you that buffer, you might need to sort of build in for yourself an opportunity to walk away. So it could be as simple as, just pop into the bathroom, I'll be back. It could be, oh, I just need to check with my friend Tracy, because she said she might need me later. Maybe Tracy's not even real. Maybe Tracy's not your friend. You've never known a Tracy, but Tracy is your out to step away from the situation and to have chance just to reflect, oh, you know, is this really what I want? And if it isn't, be brave and say no. You might phone an actual friend. You might just say, oh, you know, Sharon was waiting for my call. I'm just gonna give her a quick ring and I'll get back to you. And actually phone a trusted friend or family member just to run it past them and help, ask them to help you decide, you know, is it actually what you want to do, or are you just agreeing impulsively? So I think, yeah, giving yourself a little bit of a buffer. It could be as simple as I'm just going to the bar, or you know, just walking away. The action of walking away, giving yourself a chance to just sort of mull it over and come back and be like, oh, that's a great idea, I'd love to, or you know what, that's a lovely idea and thanks for inviting me, but actually I'm going to give it a miss tonight. You know, you can say it was Tracy's fault, whatever, I'm sure she won't mind. So yeah, I think that's something that might be useful. Secondly, I spoke about attention and our great ability, when it's all sparkly, novel and sexy, is to hyperfocus. And the danger with hyperfocus is that it can tip into obsession, and we can put all our happiness in this other person's hands when our happiness should in fact be, well, will be found within us. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I'm just going to say it. You have to love yourself before anyone else is going to love you. You have to have respect for yourself. You have to believe that you are worthy, that you are unique, that this other person is in fact incredibly lucky to be breathing the same air as you. That's the attitude to take. And while we're on attitude and mindset, I wonder if it's helpful to think of dating as an activity to work out who I do not belong with, rather than dating is a search for the one. If we have it as a search for the one, then my goodness, that puts a lot of pressure on. But if we say to ourselves, we're just weeding out the duds, well, then maybe it's more casual, it's less pressured, and we can, feel more relaxed. I would really suggest dating lots of people, in lots of different settings and environments, and I think that when we do that, we can learn a lot about ourselves, about what we're truly seeking, searching for, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. And we can learn those lessons without sort of, too much heartbreak if we keep things quite sort of casual and relaxed. Now, when I say that I'm sort of recommending you date lots of people, I don't really mean that you date lots of people all at the same time. That's probably going to get pretty messy and overwhelming. And as a woman with ADHD, your brain will lead you to make the most terrible mistakes with people's names and places and dates and times and all the rest of it. I'm just saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, really, and, keep things as relaxed as possible. If you are going on dates with different people, I would also advise that you only engage in sexual intimacy if that is something you are mindfully embracing. Sexual intimacy should not happen to you. It should be something that you absolutely choose, and there is no rush for that. You can learn a lot about another human being before it has to go to any kind of intimate level. And again, when I say date lots of people, I'm not saying have sex with lots of people. I think that it's not necessary to have that level of intimacy with so many other individuals. There is only one of you, and sharing that kind of intimacy, I think, is a big thing. It's not. I don't think it's something that you just do because, well, it's a bit boring and nothing else to do, so why not? I think it deserves much more attention from us. Like I said, this sort of mindful consent, choosing that, and not choosing it with everybody, because you're precious, and you should only bestow that kind of intimacy on those that truly deserve it, I think. So yeah, I think I'm not saying that from a moral point of view. I think it's kind of it's a practical approach, to be honest. I think if we are mindful in our choices in that area and that doesn't go down well, then that other person was not worth your time. And if it does go down well, that increases our sort of credibility and our worth, which I think is no bad thing. I think it's important for us to be brave and acknowledge when things are not working and they're not bringing us joy, and we need to break that off. There is no point in repeatedly seeing someone that we know is wrong for us just because it's better to be with someone than to be alone. We need to be bold and brave and choose to be alone rather than stay with someone that's not bringing us joy. that unfortunately do recognise my younger self in that. And we can sort of become serial monogamists, meet someone, hyperfocus kicks in, it's all amazing, it's all wonderful, oh, this is, this is the one. But then the novelty wears off and suddenly they're not the one anymore. Oh, but look, there's another one over there, and off I go again. If we do this kind of serial monogamy business, we run the risk of kind of just losing ourselves, or never even finding ourselves in the first place. If we've been doing this from day dot, we don't really discover the woman that we are. We just allow ourselves to be the other half of something on repeat, and never really explore what makes us happy, how to get our needs met, and how we can do that effectively in a balanced relationship. So I think that is really important. We can attract some real duds, girls. We can. One of the ladies that shared her thoughts with me, she called them energy vampires, which I thought was brilliant. Well, it's not brilliant at all, actually, it's really scary. But there are people that literally suck the life from you. They take and take and take, and because we can be people pleasers, we give and we give and we give. But oh my days, this is, there is no joy down this road. We can also fall in with narcissists, and we can feel lucky, to be on their arm for the evening, but actually we need to say to ourselves, no, wait a minute, they're lucky that I'm even giving them the time of day, because I've got a lot to bring to the party. So yeah, if your instinct is raising a red flag, you need to look that in the eye and acknowledge it and embrace it and break up. Again, I say, better to be alone than be with the wrong person. I also think that it's important that particularly the younger members of the ADHD community are aware that although love is tremendous, and indeed there are big feelings that take you to some wonderful places, actually a loving relationship's hard work. And if you're wanting your dating to transform into a loving relationship, you have to be willing, both of you, willing and able to sort of work on that and make the choice daily, probably, to be together and be aware that that love means, making sacrifices for the other person. Love means, having dinner with his parents or whatever it is, so just be aware of that. A loving relationship, it brings much joy and much satisfaction and peace, absolutely, but that it is hard work. And if your expectations are that it's all going to be romance and super sexy all the time, then you will be disappointed, and it might lead you to walk away from something that actually had tremendous potential. So just putting that out there as well. I think at the heart of all successful relationships, family, friends and intimate ones, has to be really genuine, honest, authentic communication. I think we have to know ourselves and be prepared to communicate it, and we need to be able to engage with it from the other side too. So we need to be able to seek that from others, listen to what they're saying, and build up a picture of who we are sharing our time with. I think you probably need to be bold, and I mean, maybe not sit down and say, well, hello, I have ADHD, but at least make the other person aware that there are certain things that you do that you really can't help. They are just part of you, and you hope that they will embrace it. I think it certainly seems to be common in my anecdotal experience that people with ADHD do tend to attract other people with ADHD, whether they know it or not, whether they're diagnosed or not, whether they're in denial or not. They can gravitate together, probably so they can make other ADHD babies, and we continue. And there can be great fun, great joy in that kind of partnership, and often the two parties can balance each other out with different strengths and different symptoms. The other thing that I've noticed is that you might find ADHD woman kind of bold, big energy out there, and maybe man with more, or other partner with more, maybe more autistic traits. They are quieter, calmer, more reserved, more ordered. So that's quite common. And then of course there are people with ADHD that marry neurotypical people. So you might want to experiment if you can with that, or at least have that, be aware of that, like what are those different combinations like for you, and what works best. There is a psychiatrist called Wes Crenshaw. He's done a lot of work on dating, sexual relationships, that kind of thing with people with ADHD, and he has a website. I will put it on the post to go with this, so you can look him up. I'll probably do another video at another time on maybe more sort of loving permanent relationships, so when you're ready to make that transition. But anyway, I hope this has been useful. I've talked way too long. I don't know if you've got to the end, congratulations. Yeah, I hope your dating experience does bring you some joy, and if it doesn't, you're not dating the right people.